The first time he called me intern, something inside me didn't break. It hardened. It happened in a boardroom that smelled like polished wood and overpriced cologne. His voice slid across the table like something that didn't belong in a place built on legacy and hard work. Bring the coffee, intern. He didn't even look at me. Like I was part of the furniture. Like I wasn't a human being standing 3 feet away from him. I gripped that cup a little tighter than necessary. Felt the heat seep into my fingers. Kept my face completely neutral, not because I was scared, but because I was calculating. Because throwing that coffee in his face would have felt good for about 3 seconds. And then I would have lost everything I had spent months quietly building. I set the cup down in front of him with careful precision, like I was handling something fragile. Maybe I was not the cup, but the moment. The timing. The plan. Right here, Mr. Caldwell, I said evenly. He waved his hand like he was brushing away a fly. Sit in the back. Adults are talking. So I did. I walked past those expensive leather chairs that probably cost more than my car, and I took a folding metal chair against the wall. The kind that creaks when you shift your weight. The kind meant for people who are not supposed to matter. But here's the truth that nobody in that room understood. I wasn't an intern. I was the majority owner of the company. Every single person at that table was sitting in my house. I just hadn't told them my name is Monica Hayes. I'm 45 years old. I have an MBA, years of real experience, and enough patience to sit through 6 months of disrespect without saying a single word. Not because I enjoy being overlooked, but because sometimes silence is the most powerful weapon you have. My father built that company from nothing. 1 truck, a lot of bad weather, and a stubborn refusal to quit. He didn't believe in shortcuts. He believed in work, real work. The kind that leaves your hands rough and your back sore. When he passed away 2 years ago, people expected me to take over. They also expected me to fail. Instead, I stepped back. Took a low-level administrative role. Let them think I didn't have the stomach for leadership. And then I watched. I watched Nathan Caldwell. The man my father had trusted slowly turn the company into his personal playground. Golf trips labeled as strategy meetings. Fake consulting firms. Money disappearing into places no one bothered to question, because questioning him meant risking your own piece of the pie. Everyone in that room knew something was wrong, but no one wanted to be the first to say it. So they stayed quiet, just like they thought I would. And that right there was his biggest mistake. Because while they were all staying quiet, I was doing something else entirely. And what I was building in secret would change everything. Those board meetings dragged on like most of them did. Nathan leaning back in his chair, talking about vision, while the numbers on the screen bled red. Other board members nodding along like trained animals, agreeing to things they didn't fully understand because it was easier than pushing back. I sat in my corner with a notebook that wasn't for meeting notes. It was evidence. Every dollar misused. Every shady contract. Every decision that chipped away at what my father spent his life building. When the vote came to approve executive bonuses, not a single hand hesitated. They all went up quick and eager, like they were afraid the money might disappear if they didn't grab it fast enough. That was the moment I knew not one of them was going to stop him. So I would. What Nathan didn't know was that my father had never fully trusted the system. Before he died, he made sure the company couldn't be stolen the way Nathan was trying to steal it. 51% of the company was hidden behind a holding structure that nobody paid attention to, and I controlled it. But I couldn't just walk in and claim it. Not yet. If I moved too early, Nathan would drag everything into court, bury the truth in paperwork, and bleed the company dry while everyone argued over technicalities. No, I needed him to go too far. I needed him to hang himself with his own decisions. So I waited. And at night, when the office felt quiet and honest, I did my real work. The office at night is a completely different place. No fake conversations. No forced laughter. Just the hum of machines and the truth hiding inside servers and filing cabinets. That's where I dug through files, tracked payments, and connected dots that nobody else bothered to connect. It wasn't hard. Nathan wasn't careful. People like him never are, because they never think they have to be. I found payments to companies that didn't exist anywhere except on paper. Travel expenses that had nothing to do with business. Contracts designed to benefit him personally while quietly weakening everything around him. And then I found the email. The one that changed everything. He was planning to sell the entire fleet. Not for growth. Not for strategy. For quick cash. The kind you take right before you walk away and leave everyone else to deal with the wreckage. Hundreds of drivers would lose their jobs. The company would become a hollow shell. And Nathan would walk away richer than ever. That was his endgame. And that was his fatal mistake. Because from that moment on, everything moved faster, and nothing would ever be the same again. I started shifting shares. Quietly. Carefully. Breaking them into smaller pieces so nothing triggered attention, building entities that looked unrelated on paper, but all led straight back to me. It was like assembling a puzzle that nobody else could see, and by the time anyone noticed, it would already be complete. I needed control. Not just technically, but visibly. Undeniably. And I needed the timing to be absolutely perfect. The night before the final meeting, I didn't sleep. I sat in my living room with stacks of documents spread out in front of me, evidence, contracts, ownership records, everything I needed to end it. I checked the numbers one last time. 56%. That was the number that mattered. That was the moment everything shifted from risk to certainty. The next morning, the office felt charged, like something was about to happen, even if nobody could explain why. Nathan walked in like he always did. Confident. Untouchable. Already assuming the outcome. "Coffee," he said, barely glancing at me. "On the warmer," I replied. I watched him walk into that boardroom completely unaware that it would be the last time he walked in as the person in charge. The meeting started exactly the way I expected. He stood at the head of the table, presenting his plan to sell the fleet, calling it innovation, calling it strategy. People nodded. They always nodded. Until I spoke. Point of order. The room froze. Every single head turned toward me. Like they were seeing me for the very first time. Nathan laughed, confused at first, then irritated. "You don't have a point of order," he said. "You bring coffee." I stepped forward, held out the folder, and slid a document across the table. "You might want to read that." I watched his face change as his eyes moved down the page. Confusion. Disbelief. Then something I had never seen from him before: fear. Because for the first time, he realized he didn't understand the situation he was actually in. That document represented majority. Control. And it had my name behind it. Not publicly. Not loudly. But legally. Completely. "You're looking at the majority shareholder," I said calmly. The silence that followed was the heaviest thing I had ever felt in my life. Everything after that moved fast. I invoked the clause that gave me control of the meeting. I presented the evidence, every fraudulent payment, every misuse of company funds, every decision made for personal gain at the company's expense. And then I gave them a choice. Stand with him and go down with him, or stand with me and survive. One by one, they chose survival. Of course they did. The vote to remove him was unanimous. Even the people who had supported him the longest raised their hands, because loyalty disappears the moment consequences show up. Nathan stood there trying to argue, trying to regain control, but it was over. Completely over. When security walked him out, he looked smaller, not physically, but something else. Like the illusion had finally cracked. Like he realized too late that the person he had ignored the most was the one who had been watching everything all along. After he was gone, the room felt different. Quieter. Real. For the first time in years, it felt like the company actually belonged to the people who cared about it. 3 months later, things weren't perfect, but they were honest. We fixed what was broken. We cut what didn't make sense. We invested in the people who actually kept the company running, not the ones draining it. And slowly, things started to improve. Not because of some big, flashy strategy, but because we finally stopped lying to ourselves. One morning, I walked into the break room and saw a new intern struggling with the coffee machine. He looked nervous, afraid of doing something wrong. I stepped in and showed him how to fix it. He thanked me, surprised. I heard you used to do this, he said, before you were CEO. I smiled. I still do. Because here's what I learned from all of this. Titles don't define you. Actions do. The people who think you're small, invisible, or unimportant are usually the ones who never see it coming. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You just need to be patient. And when the moment finally comes, you make it count.